Welcome back to the podcast. I did say I'd get better at intros. Maybe I was lying. But anyway, I just wanted to say thanks to everybody who's been checking out the podcast so far. We're only on episode 3, but it seems like people are digging it. So I dig that, and that's great. So I'll keep doing it. Up next we got Brandon Brown, my good friend from the Scotland in the UK, but now lives in LA and is he's really killing it over there. So you will find out all about that in this chat. So tune in and get comfortable. Oh, and by the way, the audio in this podcast is premium quality thanks to Brandon and his fancy microphone. Give it up for Brandon.
Right. Yeah,
all right, what's up, man?
Reese is recording the call.
How's it going, man?
It's going well. How are you?
Good, yes. Apart from our mishap earlier.
Now, do you
translated
have
the time wrong.
Do you have theme music that rolls with this? Did you write a little piece?
I'll edit it later. I guess people will know because the first episode will have it, right?
Right.
But just to give some people context there, I'll probably speak about it at the beginning, but you know that I'm just going to say it, that stupid funk riff I wrote that everybody loves.
Yeah.
Perfect intro music.
That makes sense.
So I'm like, me and Patrick are going to work on that and hopefully make a little thing, like an intro. Because I don't want to have some like cheesy, like, I hear Yannick Gwizdala's intro music. I'm like, what the hell, man?
Oh, I've never listened to his.
Check out his podcast. It's good.
Sarah used to do a podcast and I wrote the music for hers and it was like super cheesy, like, yeah. But
yeah. It has to be sometimes.
And you think you're going to release this in January?
What, the podcast? Yeah. So when people are listening, you might be like January or February. I don't know. I'll work out that stuff later. But anyway, tell me, what's happening with you? Because it's been a while since we caught up.
It's been a while. It's been probably, a year since I saw you last and probably had a chat nearly. In LA. I've been here like a year and a half now, which is exciting. It's going pretty fast. Doing a bunch of different things. It's a hard city to get ahead in because there's so many musicians. Mm-hmm. So it's just a constant uphill battle. But I've got my toes in a lot of different things: production, film scoring, guitar playing. Just a brief overview of the past year and a half has been. I've done a bunch of social media for people. I've done a couple tours. One in South America. I did a couple shows in Vegas with some. That was fun, but that was also incredibly weird, which is an interesting story because no one in the entire tour spoke any English.
Wow!
I was the only person that spoke English. They were all Chinese.
Damn!
And I got the call for the gig a couple days before it, and they just said, "Your ticket's at the airport. Show up with your guitar, and we'll meet you at the first gig." Mm-hmm. And I get off the airport. The first date was in San Francisco before we flew to South America, and I get a call when I got off the flight from a Chinese guy who barely spoke English, and he was like, "I'm in a black car. I'm picking you up." And I was like, "Oh my god, what have I done?"
Wow,
it was weird, but it was good. That was fun. It worked out. I'm alive.
Yeah, congrats. So. Yeah, that's cool. Like, I didn't know any of this stuff had happened because it seems like you've taken a little bit of break of social media, which a lot of our peers seem to be doing. Yeah. We can maybe chat about that later, but so you've recently moved to LA, right? That's just where you're at now.
That's where I'm at.
But that is obviously 22 years in the making, right? 23?
Right. Yeah, I'll be 23 next month.
Cool. Oh, we have the same birthday month.
Do.
Cool. Yeah. And I might even see you next month, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll make it happen. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So yeah, how did you get to LA? Like, this is go as long as you want into this because Brandon's from Scotland. I'm from Scotland, and that's kind of our link together. I think that's why we started talking.
Right, because we were kind of on Instagram, and you had kind of shot up, and there weren't really many people from Scotland doing it. Now there's a couple other guys I see.
Yeah, but Ross Campbell's killing it.
Ross online. And there's the other guy with the red 335.
I don't know.
I'll send you his link anyway.
Cool.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, I went to Berklee in Boston for college, trying to get my degree, and that was a whole process of trying to get, scholarship money and trying to raise the funds when you don't really come from money, and most people in Scotland just go to uni and you get it for free in Scotland. So why would you go anywhere else and put yourself under that stress of having to pay $250,000 to get a degree, which is ridiculous. But I didn't really see any option at that point because for me, I was just so enclosed in a small town, and there didn't really seem to be any options musically. Like there was one program at the Royal Conservatoire in Glasgow, but I didn't want to do classical. I hadn't really gotten into jazz yet, so I hear their jazz program's okay. And then there was one program at Edinburgh Napier Uni that I applied to and got rejected just because you had to have really good English scores.
It's funny. It's so funny because I know guys who went to Napier, and a lot of them are really good players. Yeah. But just knowing that you never got in there, it's funny. I actually never got into Napier as well.
Right.
I applied, and yeah, it wasn't the same reason. I actually had higher English, but at the time, my music theory was so bad, and they gave me this music grade 5 thing, and I was so crap at it. But anyway, go on.
See, that was funny because the first time I applied twice. The first time I applied, first time I didn't have higher English. I was just sitting my exams. So my teacher had to, the university had to go off of predictions because I was in 5th year. So my teacher hated me, and she predicted that I was going to fail. And then I ended up getting an A for higher English.
Right.
So I reapplied after my first year at Berklee because I didn't know if I was going to have enough money to go back.
Right.
So I had the year's worth of Berklee experience and my higher English and still got rejected.
That's ridiculous, man.
Isn't that nuts?
I don't know what they're looking for because I
have no idea.
It's the same way every college. There's good players and there's players who are, let's be honest, they're all right. How did you not get in there, man? But you know what? Tell me, was it a good thing that you never got in?
Oh, totally. Oh my God. I mean, if I had gotten in there, I would have stayed. I would probably be living in Edinburgh because that's probably the best city in Scotland. Either that or I would have moved to London. But I don't think I would have gotten into as many different avenues of the music industry as I have done. I definitely wouldn't have gotten into production or film scoring. I probably just would have been, I might have found myself onto some sort of tour or, probably doing a lot more teaching in the UK, but definitely wouldn't have had the same opportunities that I've had out here to go tour in Costa Rica and,
Yeah, so when you applied for Berklee, right, you obviously got in pretty young, right? What age were you?
Right, I was 16.
16, right? So I have an image in my head of this young guy who can play his ass off, and he's like, I'm gonna play, and that's it. And then you get to uni and you're like, oh wait, there's all these other things I have to do and that I end up enjoying. So maybe tell me a bit about that, because I know what you've done at uni because we've spoken about it, but maybe the people listening could get some insight on that because it's you took a lot of kind of twists and turns, it seems, in different directions.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, because when I was 16, I was just a wee shredder guy with long hair, playing my SG and trying to play as many notes as I could. And that's still fun. I'm not trying to bash it, but I didn't really. I have this very tunnel vision that I was just going to play as many notes as I could for the rest of my life. So when I got there, I quickly realized, I realized that I wanted to, after I graduated, stay in America and try and pursue something rather than going back to the UK. And the only way that would be possible, just by the way that visa stuff works in America, you can't just sit around and play guitar all day and let them let you stay in the country.
Yeah.
So I realized, in order for me to get the most success and prepare myself the most, once I graduate, I had to start diversifying myself and what I could do. So when I got there, I started learning about film scoring. And it was funny because after my first year at Berklee, I came home to Scotland and started working for a Scottish film composer who's pretty big. His name is Patrick Doyle, and he worked on the fourth Harry Potter movie and Thor and Brave, did a bunch of huge Hollywood movies. And so I started working for him and just picking up little things. And it was really when I heard a live orchestra for the first time that we were working with that I was like, oh my God, I'm hooked. This is what an amazing sound that people can produce. You can write this, you can conduct it. And it was really the conductor, I think, that inspired me the most
wow.
because when we first went in that first summer, the orchestra, when they played through the score and it just sounded mediocre,
Right.
but by the end of it, it sounded like the LSO or something. It was huge. It sounded incredible. So just the amount of control the conductor had over these and like musicians in order to make them better, and just what an ear this guy had. 50 musicians would be playing at once. He knew exactly which one wasn't playing the way they should be. So that was incredible to me. So I think I was inspired mainly by the conductor, but so that kind of opened my eyes to the film world. I really wanted to start writing music for picture. So I went back to Berklee, took some film scoring classes, and then in about my third year, I started realizing, well, I don't really know much about the business. I don't know much about the legal side of it or the recording industry side. So I started taking business classes. So Berklee offers a really good program called Professional Music, which is they call it the Build-A-Bear major. So rather than taking one major in film scoring or one major in guitar performance, you can mix and match. So I took professional music, and you can take up to 2 concentrations. So my 2 concentrations were film scoring and music business. Sorry, film scoring and performance, because I still wanted to play guitar and do all that.
This is
And
your
then
third year, right?
Yeah, roughly my third year.
Cool.
So film scoring and guitar performance, and then you have elective credits that you can take, and I used those to take music business classes, so that I was really putting myself in the best situation possible for when I graduated. I'd be able to, if I needed to, I could work at a record company or a publishing company or a tech company who had a music aspect. I could work for film composers, I could write music, I could produce music, and I could play, do session work, and go on tour, and I've done all of those things so far. Now it's just a case of taking it to the next level and like really kind of setting myself in my career. And a lot of people, when I moved to LA, they were like, well, you should really just pick one thing to focus on. You shouldn't spread it out so much. And I was like, well, that there's some truth to that, and maybe I'm taking away some time from each that could be spent and really getting to the next level on one of them. But until that time comes, I don't see that I'm taking time away from another to focus on all 3, production, film scoring, or business, or guitar, or whatever. Until that time comes, I'm quite happy spreading my abilities out over these different avenues, because I don't want to pick one. So maybe one day the time will come where I'm forced to pick one. If I get an opportunity in one to go tour the world for a year, or score a film, that'll obviously take up more time, and
But I think even though like one of those opportunities will come up for you, of course, but when they do, it's like you still have the other things to fall back on.
Absolutely.
And it's not even fall back on, but just go on to something else.
Absolutely, because a lot of people, when they focus on touring, when they're young, they get about 10 or 15 years out of it, and then they're too old. All the young acts don't want to hire them, and then they're like, oh crap, what do I do now? So I kind of wanted to, foresee that and not let that happen when I turned 30 or 35, when I was too old to be hired by any of these young acts.
Yeah. Cool, man. So obviously a lot to go on after that, but just want to wind back a little bit, because when you were at Berklee, if I'm right, you had some sort of a job where you advised people on like how to get into Berklee or something like that. No, there was something that you helped out with that a little bit. No?
I did. I was on the student ambassador team, which they would send me around the country with the audition and interview team.
That's it.
And I would get to help answer questions to prospective students, and now I get to interview them for the college since I'm an alumni.
Cool. All right. So one big question here that'll help so many people, right?
Yeah.
What is the most common? What's the most common kind of pitfall you see in people's auditions? Like one thing.
That without even thinking, I can tell you that.
Can I try and guess? Can I guess?
Sure. Yeah.
Right. Right. I think a lot of people like are all right players. Is it the theory?
Well,
no,
not necessarily, because they don't really see that as a big part of your audition.
Right.
And that's why you want to go to college, because they want to teach you their system from the beginning anyway. So it's honestly better if you come in with no theory knowledge at all, because they have different terms and stuff they want you to
Right.
learn.
So
They have their own system. But the biggest thing I would say would be a lot of people come in and they think they're amazing, and they think that because they come from towns where or high schools that they're the best player, and then all the best players come to Berklee and they're no longer the best. And coming to terms with that really makes a lot of people feel down. And I think that's a lot of the reason why in the first year the dropout rate is pretty high.
right.
So it's a combination of, a reality check that you're not the best. There are other people out there,
Yeah.
but also people thinking that music college is just going to be plain sailing and it's going to be easy. They don't realize that you still have to put in the work. There's a lot of theory. Even at Berklee, there's English and history classes you have to take. There's science classes you have to take. Just because of the way the American education system works, if you want to get a degree, you have to have a certain amount of these classes to make you eligible to get a degree. But that's probably the biggest thing, is these small town people coming, or people who are the best in their high school. They all arrive in one place and they realize, oh crap,
Yeah.
I'm not the best anymore.
And I think, like, coming from that sort of situation, I'm sure you're yourself. It's not. There wasn't a lot of competition in my high school, for example, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure it was the same for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think one of the most beneficial things you can do as a musician, or anyone who wants to grow, is not be the best in the room. All right?
Exactly.
It's like you want to be in that situation. So advice to any young people who are thinking about this and feel like they're the best in their town or whatever it is, it's like, well, you're looking at a very small kind of thing here. Like, open up, like, the pond. Look for a bigger kind of ocean to swim in.
Absolutely.
And,
I've heard Mike Stern say that all the time. Like,
Yeah.
he always says he likes to put himself in uncomfortable situations because he can learn from these other musicians,
Absolutely.
So I think that's definitely key if you go somewhere like Berklee, because there are so many good musicians, and especially you're never going to find that pool of students from all over the world anywhere else at any other college.
Yeah.
So there's so many different cultures and styles to learn from, that you could technically be such a powerhouse musician if you open yourself up to the fact that you're not the best.
Yeah, I think because I'd done a trip over to Boston and then went to New York and hung out with Brandon at Berklee, and that was such a cool experience for me for a few reasons. Just seeing like how cool a place that would be to study, and like there's just options for anything. But then like the level of musicians that you could hear just every day, everywhere, it was like, I love that atmosphere, because it's like I feel inspired, and obviously getting to play with you is inspiring as well. And like I remember jamming with you and Leslie, the drummer, and that was the first time we had played, and it was just a jam with like about 6 guitarists, but it was just so much fun, like just hearing all these guys play who are like really good at what they do. And I think personally that's like, I love being in that situation where like everybody's killing it and I'm like just really listening to everybody. It's like, what can I learn from you? Not like I'm trying to be the best person in this room, you know? Like, you need to be humble.
I remember when I was in Scotland and before I went to college, and I always kind of thrived off of meeting someone, whether it was at my high school or a different high school, or if I was playing in a competition or whatever. I always thrived off of seeing someone who was way better than me, because I just wanted to go back home and practice. And I didn't necessarily feel bad about myself. I just knew that there was another level to be reached, and I shouldn't be complacent.
Yeah, so growing up then, like maybe a little bit before the Berklee thing, I think I know the answer to this, but is there any one person who really ignited that sort of fire in you, or like helped you progress in a way that maybe nobody had before?
Definitely. I mean, because up until this guy, who I'll mention in a second, every teacher, I mean, my first guitar teacher, I had always wanted to learn more than what they were willing to teach me. So my first guitar teacher didn't want to teach me sight reading because he said it would take too much time. So I left him, and then I didn't have a guitar teacher for a few years. And my guitar teacher after that, it was like a group class. And after the first week, I started in the beginner class, and the second week I moved to the advanced class, to the adult class.
Wow.
And it was just pointless of me going, because again, it might have been adults, but it was a group of beginning adults.
Right.
So, and then my guitar teacher after that that was good. His name was Callum Harbison. He was in Hamilton, and that was another group class, and he was kind of instrumental and starting that little theory bug, and maybe opening myself up to a couple different styles that I didn't know about. And we went through the rock school grades together. And then when I got to grade 8, I decided, Callum couldn't really take me to that level, so I found Callum's son was a guitar player, and he was going to a guy in Glasgow called Rowan Parker, who was actually one of the examiners for rock school. So what better way to pass an exam than to learn from the people judging you on the exam?
Cool.
So I went to him, Rowan Parker in Glasgow, and I remember that first lesson with him, and I left his house after that feeling so bad about myself, because it was just an hour of him telling me how bad I was and what I couldn't do. But honestly, I needed to hear that at that point, because I was getting complacent, and because I was the best guitar player in the school, well, I was probably the only guitar player in my school that was, I just thought I was better than I was.
The sad reality.
Exactly, and he just really brought me back down to earth and said, you can't do this, you can't do that, blah, 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 but you can do this one thing. I guess that's kind of cool. We need to really start working on your theory, working on your chords, working on different styles. So I probably went to him for about 2 years before I left to go to Berklee, and that was probably the most defining time. Those 2 years, I learned the most, I advanced the most, and he's just one of the smartest, cleverest people you'll ever meet. Not just about music, but he knows a lot about everything. He's one of those guys where if he gets into something, he goes all in. He goes 100% in. He does it with guitar. I think he did it with he started going to the gym one time, and his whole life was going to the gym. Now he's kind of done another 180 and started building PCs, and he's just going all into that.
Wow.
So he's a great guy, really nice guy, and a great guitarist. Check him out on YouTube.
Yeah, he's got a YouTube channel. What's his do you know his username?
It's just Rowan J. Parker.
So ROWAN.
Yeah, ROWANJPARKER.
Cool, nice.
Tons of free instructional videos. It's the best.
And if you want a laugh, or maybe not, you can actually search for his name and Brandon Brown, and you'll find videos of Brandon when he was a kid. You
will find old 14, 15-year-old Brandon videos with
it's funny,
huge hair.
Yeah, what I'd done is, because I'd done YouTube, I've never actually tried to do YouTube properly, but when I was in high school, I'd upload a video once every 6 months. And man, I had the most cringy stuff up there. I had acoustic guitar versions of the Titanic theme tune and stuff, and all this weird. Yeah, I've hid all that, so you can't see it now.
See, I did similar stuff too, but mine are also public.
Right, no, I've deleted or hid most of mine.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, need to kind of. I don't know. You hear a lot of things nowadays. Not that that's going to do anything bad for me, but about someone tweeted something 4 years ago, and now it's messed up their whole political party or something like that.
Oh right.
I don't know how massive kind of digression here, but how hip are you to UK politics right now, being someone who's in LA? Because
I still keep in touch.
Yeah, because we can go down this route for a minute, but is Brexit going to affect you? I
don't think Brexit's going to affect me.
No,
because.
Not your visa, stuff, or because are you a citizen of the US now?
I'm not a citizen of the US. No,
right.
I just have what's called an artist visa, which gives me 3 years in the country to practice being a musician.
Cool. And that have you done your first? Is this your first year, or was that including?
This is my first year. My first year started in May, because up until that point in LA, I was still on my student visa. And after your student visa, after you graduate college, you get a year in the country to start implementing your degree. So that ended in May, and then I got my artist visa. So now I have 3 years, or probably 2.5 now.
Cool, man. So your first year in LA then, let's talk about that, because that's a massive change. Brandon, obviously you were on campus at Berklee. What was your dorm? I can't even remember. It was the one
It was 150 Mass Ave.
Right, yeah, I remember. I could probably still get there. But what am I trying to say here?
The change.
Yeah.
right?
So tell us about the change, because obviously you've got your nice studio now, and you're in a literally everything in the one room at Berklee, because that's how
Right.
it's set up, isn't it?
Right. I mean, yeah, that was a weird change. I mean,
What?
for all 4 years at Berklee, I was living in dorms.
Yeah.
So I was, for the first 2 years, I had either two or three roommates, and then the last 2 years I had my own room. But living in the dorms, you have a calf. You don't have to really fend for yourself. All your food is made for you, and it's luxury really.
Except from the fact that you're sleeping with like in a room with like three sweaty males or something, like
Right,
that
right,
must have been
right.
hard for practice, no?
Well, it's weird in your first year because you don't get to choose who your roommates are. But after that, when you can actually start living with your friends, and you're all guitar players and you all want to jam and whatever, that gets a little easier.
Cool.
But after my second year, I decided no, I don't want roommates anymore. I need to get my own room, so I did that. Um, but yeah, so when I moved to LA, I moved to the big bad adult world and got my own apartment, and that was a change. And I had to get a car because LA's not a walking city; it's huge, so you have to have a car in LA to survive. There's really no public transport in LA at all,
Right.
so it's rough. Especially the traffic if you get caught in rush hour traffic, which is really from like 7 till 11 in the morning and then 4 till 7 at night. So
Damn.
it's crazy. So you just need to watch you don't get caught in that. But it was a weird transition. I had my first apartment, and I had saved up some money from when I was in college, so it allowed me to get a car and get put down a deposit to get my apartment and kind of live for a little bit. And I had a job. Just I did a lot of random jobs. I worked at a streaming company when I first got here, and then I started working for a film composer, and I was teaching Skype lessons like through my Instagram and stuff, and that really helped. It was always something to fall back on, just always having that content, having people to know about you, just having that ability to be your own boss and do the Skype lessons is a lot. I think I probably took it for granted at the time, but yeah, that's always good to have. It's good thing to fall back on. What else did I do in my first year?
Like, has there been any like huge things? Because I know you've been like super busy in the last year, like just
Right.
doing what you can. And has there been anything like, or a couple of things that have like, or that do stick out to you that were like just really helpful in moving forward? Like certain
Yes.
opportunities.
And
Because I know the streaming
absolutely.
thing didn't work out too well for you.
Right, I was just going to talk about that. So that's probably the thing that propelled me forward the most. So I'll just for the people at home.
Yep.
I was working at the streaming company in Hollywood, and I was doing A&R, which stands for Artists and Repertoire, and I was basically in charge of onboarding new artists and to upload their music to this platform. And that was a great job. It came with a great salary, and I could choose my own hours and still work on music outside of this job, which was great. But then one day I asked, so we shared an office with a management company, and one of their clients was Calvin Harris, a huge Scottish producer DJ who I don't even like that much anyway. But I just saw it as I've been thrown into like the heart of the music industry. Let's see what I can do. So I asked his manager, if I could sit in the studio one time and just observe, just sit in on a recording session, and they just flipped out and fired me, that day or a couple days after for no reason.
That's so bizarre, man.
But it's a very over the top, but very corporate, very egotistical. Like they saw themselves as better than everyone else, and they were like, Calvin's a $400 million artist, and we can't have you working here, whatever. It was dumb. So that I didn't know at the time, but after that, I was really forced to start because that was a month of me living in LA. I had that job, and after that, I didn't have it anymore. So I thought, crap, what am I gonna do? So I really had to start utilizing the stuff that I was preparing for in my degree. So started teaching guitar, started meeting people, contacting people, started writing music, working for film composers, started producing music, playing gigs. And although I didn't know at the time, if I hadn't got fired, I probably would have not have. Basically, a few months down the line, the company ended up shutting down anyway. So it really just helped me get ahead of the game for that, you know. So if it didn't happen then, it was going to happen in 5 or 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to get ahead of them closing down, really.
Yeah.
So I was just thrown into it at the deep end, trying to figure out how I was going to pay rent. Didn't know anyone in LA. Don't have family in America. So, I just had to figure it out.
Cool, man. So what kind of things have you been doing? Because I know, like, you just kind of listed some of the sort of gigs you've been working on and that, but
Right.
you know, LA is the kind of place I imagine you have to stay relevant, and it's like,
Yeah.
because of you trying to stay relevant and taking on all these kind of opportunities, what, you know, couple of things stand out again in this year, like sort of maybe more music related? Because obviously that failure, like, that says a lot about you. Like, the failure is in a way the best thing that happened, you know?
Totally.
And it's like, it's a common thread. And what good things have happened in the last year, or something that you've been excited about?
Yeah, I mean, so the one thing I mentioned in the beginning was the tour to South America. That was great. Another thing was I got a chance to music direct a couple artists from the UK, and they flew out and we did like a week-long residency in Vegas, which was really cool. And two of the artists, one of them was Joseph Apostle, who was on The Voice UK. He's a great singer, so I was his music director. And then another artist called Luvia, who's very kind of cinematic pop, kind of mysterious. And so I was also her music director, and we got to play these really cool gigs in Vegas. And so that was one of the highlights of this year. Let's see, another highlight would be I got to go out to a studio. There's a place in California called Joshua Tree. And there's a studio called Pink Satellite Studios in the middle of the desert. And it's owned by the music director and keyboard player for Queen, a guy named Spike Edney.
Sweet. And
I got to go there for a couple days and record guitar for a guy named Tom Cridlin, who was this guy from London. And he flew out to record his album at this studio and hired me to play all the guitar. So that was a really cool experience in the middle of nowhere for a couple of days at this amazing studio, no distractions. I mean, it was literally like 10 miles on a dirt road off of any major road in the middle of the mountains. It was crazy. So that was a great experience. More recently, I think in the past few months, I actually worked at a composer agency a few months back for about 3 or 4 months.
Cool.
I don't know if I ever mentioned that to you personally, but basically when May came around this year, May of 2019, I knew I had to apply for my visa because my student visa was running out. So that obviously requires getting lawyers and filing processing fees with the US government and all that. So I just needed some money to help file those papers and get the lawyer and whatnot. So I took this job at a composer agency, which at the time I really didn't want to take, but I just needed the money. But it really became one of the more valuable experiences that I've ever had, because I was able to gain access to a world that no one really knows about. I mean, people talk about scoring films and scoring TV shows and documentaries, but no one talks about how musicians actually get those gigs, how a composer gets an agent, or how they get signed to a huge blockbuster movie. So I was able to learn all of the big names in the industry. I was able to learn everything that the agency does to get their clients out there, get their names and their music out in order to get these opportunities. So that was really eye-opening, and it was really just a 4-month education for myself. And then they represented some of the biggest composers in the world. So that was a great experience. So I did that for about 4 months. And then more recently, I've been still focusing on guitar. I mean, I play in gigs here and there. I'm working on my album. Actually,
I was going to ask about that. Oh,
I'm lying. I'm not working on my album because I thought for the longest time I was like, I need to get an album out. But now I'm thinking I'm just going to release singles.
Cool. Because
I'm sick of waiting to have the material and the money to get everything recorded and mixed and mastered for a whole album.
Yeah.
So I think, I can get maybe 1 track a month really polished.
That's great.
Which is pretty decent. So Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say you could just see it long term and be like, well, if I get a track a month, then at the end of the year I have an album. But I know how the single game seems.
Yeah, I really just want to get content out there because I have been quiet online for a bit. So I really just I felt like I was falling behind in the community. So I think
online community.
The online community. So I thought if I just start putting out singles, I can at least get, because I don't have any original guitar music out there unless it's like a couple tracks here and there on YouTube. But I'd love to get stuff out there on Spotify and all that stuff. So I think I've almost finished one track, which I'm really happy with because I've spent months on it, on this one track alone. And it took me a while to try and find the sound that I was going for, because I'd always struggled with, do I want to be a rock player? Do I want to be a jazz player? Do I want to be a fusion player? What do I have to be any of those players, or can I be all of those players?
Yeah.
So I think I found a sound that I'm happy with.
Can you describe that? I'm interested.
It's kind of honestly, it takes in all of my strengths. It has a little cinematic element. It has a little pop production element, but it's very much rock infused. But there will be a couple tracks that have a very outside fusiony, maybe Holdsworthy sound or Sean Lane type sound.
Nice.
But it's going to be heavy.
Yeah. So could you compare the overall sound to something? It doesn't even have to be like literally, oh, it sounds like this. But is there anything or a particular artist that you feel inspired by?
I could. Probably, I mean, not. It probably wasn't inspired by this person, but it definitely sounds maybe like a heavier Martin Miller.
Cool, nice. I can totally imagine that.
We'll see.
And I think I have a good idea like what your strengths are, and so I'm really excited to hear that.
Okay.
It's going to be cool, man. Hey, sorry for interrupting the podcast. I'll just be 1 minute. If you're receiving value from this podcast, consider supporting me by getting some of the Sitting In merch. From teespring.com/stores/sitting-in-podcast. That's teespring.com/stores/sitting-in-podcast.
Yeah, I'm hoping the first couple months of 2020 I can get the first track out.
Cool.
I really just want to get, like, everything is done, all the audio is done. I just need to get drums and bass recorded on this track.
Sweet, man. You're moving, man. You're definitely working on something. Yeah,
I'm trying. So that's in my guitar world, and then I've been orchestrating a Disney TV show recently.
Ooh.
So there's a Disney Junior show called Vampirina, which is about this little Vampirina.
Arena.
So VAMPIRINA.
Oh, right. I thought you said Vampire Arena, like the O2 Arena.
No,
I was
like it's all one word, like Vampirina.
Right.
I'll
definitely check that out.
You should go watch it. It's on Disney Junior. But I'm basically working for the composer who writes the music, and I'm orchestrating all the episodes for season 3, which is pretty fun.
That's awesome, man.
Trying to stay versatile. And then I guess the biggest thing that's been happening recently is I've basically have this company now. I was brought this company called Chai Time Studios. They're a startup, and they're production and composition network / house. And they basically write original music and produce original music for film and TV. And they brought me on as an equity partner in this company. And we have some exciting things on the horizon. We just pitched to do a DreamWorks TV show. It's a Madagascar spin-off show. And they loved the demos that we sent for that. So that might be, fingers crossed, that might be taking out most of 2020, is writing the music for this TV show.
Wow.
And so we have some exciting things coming up with this company. Hopefully some films that we're going to be scoring, and some TV shows. So yeah.
No, that's amazing, man.
That's the bulk of it.
So like every time I speak to you, like I'm always just like, whoa, man, you're doing so many cool things. And
that's the thing, I hate talking about myself and posting any of this online. I don't want to I feel like I'm bragging or
No,
boasting.
not at all, man.
I
Listen,
hate it.
out of everybody I know, and I'm not saying this because you're here, you're one of the most hardworking people I've ever
I
come
appreciate
across.
it.
Like when we met, when the first time we Skyped years ago, and we maybe even had a similar conversation to this, like, oh, how did you get on at Berklee, or how did you get in, and all that stuff. And
Right.
just hearing your story, like, you know, you don't settle for down here. Like you're always
Right.
working hard, and to like even just catching up after maybe I don't know how long it's been, but like the amount of stuff you've taken on, and like you're doing great, man. It's so good to hear.
I appreciate it. I mean, we actually, my girlfriend and I sat down a couple of days ago, and we tried to count how many jobs I've had since I moved to LA, and it's into the 20s now.
Wow.
Not through choice, just of sheer necessity of it's so expensive to live here, and I really want to do so many things. I don't want to settle for just being a guitar player or being a composer. Not that there's anything wrong with that, just personally to feel fulfilled, I need to explore all of these avenues in order to feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do in life.
Yeah, you seem like the perfect person to be thrown in somewhere like LA, where it's like
Right.
you have to fight or flight, I guess. It's like,
Right.
do you want to do it? Well, get it done then. And it's
Absolutely.
like, it seems like the best place for you right now. But can you see yourself living in LA for the foreseeable future? Where would you like to move? Or
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, my plan had always been between 5 and 10 years in LA, and I would always love to move back home to Scotland. Just get my career started so that I can work from anywhere and move back home. But the longer you're out here, the more you realize you can't. Sometimes you have to be out here, sometimes you don't. It's very unpredictable. I think ideal situation, if my career works out the way that 12-year-old Brandon wants it to work, would be to be back and forth. I'd love to. I want to spend more time at home in the UK because I get to go once a year, if that. So I'd love to go and work and split my time, really. If I'm needed in LA, I'll be here. If I'm not, I'd love to be back home and just, spend time with my family and see my friends and.
well, it's
So
two.
I'm not sure right now.
Yeah, two completely different networks. But if you can get the best of both worlds, the UK and the USA, it's like that's I guess ideal. It's funny because
Absolutely.
I feel, obviously I'm not in LA, like I'm in Edinburgh, which is it's the capital of Scotland, but it's tiny, man. Like
course.
but other people might not.
Yeah.
And it's funny because a few years ago, I'm sure we had this conversation. It's like, I was thinking maybe I could move to somewhere else where I would
Yeah, you were
be
thinking New
put in
York, right?
similar.
You'd be good in New York.
Yeah, I was thinking, but I don't know if I'm just getting like comfortable. But the more I stay here, the more I'm like, I really like it here, and like
Yeah.
I'm happy with what's happening, and it's like it's so affordable. So it means that I can do a little bit of this, like teach a bunch, but then I have so much time to like work on my own things, and I really value that, but also see how being in your situation would be so beneficial, like just
Right.
being made to get stuff done, but just different places.
I think that's true, and I think I probably envy your situation sometimes as well, because I would love to just travel some more.
Yeah,
And we
I
don't
love
really have that,
Yeah,
and we don't have that freedom here. I mean, America's pretty much in the middle of nowhere. There's it's so expensive to travel from LA. Even though there's some really cool places around here, and we could drive and whatever, but I'd love to see more of Europe and just travel on the cheap and get a £20 flight to Spain. Or
yeah, I love it, man. Like it's funny because I was catching up with a friend recently, and they were asking like, generally, how's my year been? And I was thinking about it, and it's been an amazing year for sure. But when I think back to the previous years, I've always said, oh, that was the best year of my life. And I think a lot had to do with, honestly, like nothing like career related or music. It was more like how much of the world did I see in that year made me feel like, I don't know. I love traveling. Like if there's really three things that I do, and it's like I play a lot of music, obviously. That's like what I do. I climb as well. I don't know if we've talked about that.
Yeah, we've spoken about
And
that.
I love traveling, and that's about it. And my girlfriend makes
that's why-
amazing food that I like eating. So
That's a perfect situation. I think that's why I have such an itch to tour with artists, just to travel. Even if I'm going to be sitting in a bus, if I can get a couple hours away from work, then I can, just to see a bit of the world, whether that's the rest of America or the rest of the world. I think that will suffice my itch to travel, and I would get paid to do it. I think that's why I really want to do that whilst I'm young.
Yeah, man, totally. It's like it's all like it's gonna happen for you for sure, man. Like you've got this. But yeah, going back to because I've got some notes here about things that I'd like to talk about, and I have 2 question marks. One we'll get onto later, but the first one is like your album, because I'm pretty sure you said to me that you were thinking about working on it last time we spoke, and you weren't quite sure about what you were gonna do. So maybe could you just tell me a little bit about that in terms of like is there a concept? Like you've described the sound a bit, but maybe we could go a bit further into that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've struggled for so many years, probably for like the past 5 or 6 years, and I've wanted to put an album out there since I was 17 or 18, and I've just struggled with finding whatever sound I had in my head. I didn't know how to produce it on my laptop or record it, and I'm always my worst critic, so whenever I have thousands of demos I've recorded over the past 5 or 6 years, but just because me being me, that none of them are ever good enough. And I think I really need to take a step back and maybe put someone else in charge of the production and just overseeing the project in order for me to actually get anywhere with the music that I'm writing.
Yeah.
And I actually I did that a few months ago. My friend Matt, who lives in LA, I went to him and I said, look, I really just need a third party to tell me yes or no and control this, just so that I can get some stuff out there. And that was really helpful. We sat for a few hours and went through one of my tracks, and that was good just to get some, confirmation from him that, that this take is good enough.
Yep.
Or,
yeah. On you
go? No, go for it.
Ah, cool. I was going to say I've had similar situation actually, because I started writing the music for this. I think it's an album, because there's like 9 tracks, and a bunch of them will be over 6 minutes probably, so it's gonna be a lot of time. But it wasn't until I actually like had some friends over, or like jamming here and there, and they asked like, oh, can I hear your music? And like getting that confirmation, because you work on it on your own and like get all the ideas down, and then eventually bring it to musicians. But I think there's a huge step, at least for me, between like, all right, I have something, I think it's okay, but then someone saying, oh, I really dig like this section. It's like having that confirmation. We don't like, you don't need it, but it helped me so much. Like I think that's what made me be like, oh, cool, maybe this will become something. And then obviously like social media kind of helps with that. It's like if you put an idea up and people are like, oh, what song's that? It's really cool. It's like, haha, it's mine.
Yeah, that's true.
But I don't know. I'm kind of in the situation where now I'm on. It's like 9 tracks. I'm looking at it on my whiteboard right there, and I'm like, yeah, there's
you've
there's
been working
definitely
on yours for a while now, right?
for a while, but it's the kind of thing. It's like it's not been consistent at all, man. Like I would go like, I'm not kidding, about 2 months without even thinking about it, and then be like, oh, I'll pick back up on it. So it's like, if I added up all the time, it's probably been like 3 months of actual work. But I'm in a situation now where working with a band, and it's like you're talking about all these things to do with like production and that, and for me, I'm like, I'm approaching it more like a jazz record, where it's like, I have a chart, we have like the head and the chords that need to be happening.
You'll just go in and jam, right?
Yeah, so it's like it's not going to be. I don't want it to be polished. I want it to feel live and raw, and like, I'm sure there'll be like, like that. That's the kind of vibe that I want to capture. But then I do hear people like Polini, for example, who it's like everything's so polished and it sounds so good, but that's not my style. And like, I kind of just want to go in and get ready with the band. That's going to be the biggest thing, is like just actually getting the band ready so that we're all comfortable, and then we can just go in, try and get like 2 tracks done a day or something, and then I'm going to worry about like production in terms of like what I really want it to sound like, if you know what I mean, because I know what my like tones and all that kind of stuff, like I know what I need for that, but like the other end of it, in terms of like the sort of, I don't know, just the other bits with like the mixing and like how, like what I actually want the mix to sound like. I've not really thought about that, because for me it's more like, let's just get the music done, then I'll worry about that.
Yeah, so that's true. That's my problem, is that I'm constantly thinking about the end product whilst I'm doing it, and I'm writing as I'm recording, which is also a bad thing, I think, because I never start recording with a full song. I just play a little lick and I try and expand on it, and then I add other instruments, and I think I'm trying to go for somewhere in the middle of polished and live, and just try. I don't want it to sound perfect and pristine.
Yeah, kind of like the Elbow Triangle album.
Right, that was a great album.
Because that's so polished.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's probably a good reference.
Ah, nice. I like it. Cool. I think I was listening to a track from that recently, actually. I was like, wow, Tom Quayle. It's like, every now and then I just like forget about him. And
Me
I'm
too.
Like,
and then
wow.
then I go on a little binge on YouTube or Instagram, and it's like, oh, it's insane.
Yeah, such an incredible player. But yeah, so I'm just looking behind your pretty guitars, right? And so let's just go through the situation of Brandon comes up with an idea then, right? And you're playing one of these guitars, right? Uh-huh. Do each one of them, because I know you've got a few other on the other side.
There's a couple others.
Do they inspire you in different ways, or is it more like I don't know, like, do you have an idea, then you think about the guitar you need? Or is it more just like you're playing the guitar and it doesn't matter what guitar? Because I've got certain guitars bring out different things in me, and I've written different tracks on different guitars, and I know why it is, you know?
Right. Absolutely. I think I used to get like that, but now I'm at a point where, for me, I think a guitar is just a guitar now. Unless I'm playing the D'Angelico, then I can only play jazz on the D'Angelico.
Oh, really? That's funny, because
it just brings it out. I don't know why.
Yeah, because it's like I'm looking at a track here, and it's like I know what guitar needs to be on it, and I know why that is, because like my D'Angelico, the XL one, no, sorry, the SS one, the smaller body one, like that just brings out. Yeah, that just brings out a certain sound in me, because I've got that strung up 12s, right?
Right.
And then the jazz box behind me, like that obviously brings out a certain sound. And I do not play the same music on my Telecaster or my Strat. Like, it's just not the same instrument. It's like
absolutely.
So it's like I know there's tracks that I've written definitely on the SS compared to one that's been written on a Telecaster or something. And you'll hear that when you hear the record, I guess, because you'll be able to tell the different kind of sounds.
Right.
But
I definitely get that. I mean, especially with the SS, it brings out all the jazz stuff. But with these three here, the Strat, the Tele, and the SG, I can kind of... I don't think there's a distinguishing factor between them. And there'll be people at home when I say this who will hate me, but the Tele and the SG never come off the wall. I only play the Strat, at least for the past few months. I've just been really lazy about restringing the other two. So the SG hasn't been restrung in about 3 or 4 years. But just because the guitar was in Scotland for such a long time, and I brought it back with me the last time I came to LA, and the Tele has flat wound 13s on it right now.
Damn.
It's nuts. So, and I thought I wanted the Tele to, before I got the D'Angelico.
Yeah, of course.
Before I got the D'Angelico, I wanted the Tele to be my kind of jazz, like, Ted Green guitar.
Nice.
And the flat wound, the 13 flat wounds just weren't for me.
Maybe not a Telecaster, like.
Yeah, well, that's what he whatever. But he
well, yeah, I guess it's. But
yeah, but I just have to restring them, and I'll use them some more.
Yeah, do it, man. Like, I actually accidentally got what are they? They're half flat wound strings. That were 11s. I'm using them on the SS right now. Absolutely love them. Like, I think they're the strings that are going to be on that guitar. I have proper flat wounds on that one, and it's great. But anyway, I accidentally got 11s instead of 12s. And so I'm actually going to put them on the Tele and see how they feel, because my Tele's strung up with 11s. Cool. And so I'm kind of interested to hear what kind of vibe that brings out. But I don't expect it's going to be one that I want to keep. But I think you should definitely like restring them, because even just trying different strings, like
I know, because I've been using elixirs my whole life, and I'm kind of sick of them now because they refuse to endorse me.
All right, cool. So
despite,
obviously, I recently became an artist with Daddario, right? And I'm super stoked about that for two reasons, right? The first one is that they're a progressive company. When was sorry if anybody from Elixir's listening, but when was the last time Elixir did anything new? Seriously.
Yeah.
Right? And have you seen their social media? And also, the amount of options you get with D'Addario is ridiculous. You know? It's like I can have flat wounds, I can have half flat wounds, I can have chrome, I can have nickel, I can have anything. I can have coated strings now as well. Have you tried them?
No, I haven't.
Right, so now they've got new coated strings that...
Right.
Try them if you like elixirs. But the amount of options that you get is just ridiculous, man. Like, I can have one acoustic strung with, like, really kind of vintage sounding strings. Then the other one can just be super bright, you know? And my telly can have, like, NYXLs that are, like, super bendy, whereas my Strat...
How long do they usually last?
All right, cool. Great question, right? And this isn't meant to be any sort of endorsement. Obviously, I do endorse the company, like, absolutely. But I put a set of NYXL. These aren't the ones I used, but
right,
because they're 9s. But I put a set of them on like the D'Angelico, right? That's my everyday guitar, right? And they lasted me ages, like because
really,
when I used to buy uncoated strings, I felt like I went through them quick. Maybe I just had like sweaty hands when I was a teenager.
Yeah, I have that. Yeah,
right. Because nowadays, like I could have a pair of uncoated strings honestly feel great for a month. Like I'm not kidding. And it's not because I'm lazy, because I've got more than enough strings and more than enough time to get it done. But it's like they just felt fine, and I was like hesitant to even restring it. But I got some other strings. I was like, well, I'll try these ones out now. So it's like, I honestly, man, give them a try.
I'm gonna do that after you've convinced me to try and switch. I'm gonna try the Diodario ones. But just back on the topic of guitars.
Cool.
Actually, none of these guitars or the D'Angelico is my favorite right now.
All right.
I actually bought a few months ago. I was doing a gig, and I needed an acoustic guitar, so I went to Guitar Center and just bought the cheapest first one that I saw. I think it was like $100, and it was called Mitchell Guitars.
All right.
And I found out that Guitar Center owns this company. That's why they're so cheap. So I played it, and it just felt and sounded amazing. So I contacted the company. And I said, I'd love to promote you, blah, blah, blah. So they sent me 2 more guitars. They sent me another acoustic, and they sent me a Strat. And the Strat is one of the most beautiful Strats, the most beautiful sounding Strats I've ever played in my entire life. And it retails for $200. Honestly, the parts on the guitar are worth more than the guitar itself. You could sell the pickups and the bridge and the tuners that has lock-in tuners.
What are the pickups? Are they their own thing or...
I have no idea, honestly.
All right.
But it plays incredible and it sounds so good.
Wow.
And you can retail for $200 and it's amazing.
Right. That's interesting here, because I know that the 2 guitars, so your Strat and the Telecaster, they're custom made, right?
Right, the Strat and the Tele are custom, yeah.
Yeah, can you tell me about that? Because that's that's interesting. Who made them?
Yeah. So that's a company called Warmouth. They're based in Seattle, and well, the story behind the blue one was that when I was still in Scotland, and in high school, I got. Let's rewind before that. Before I had my first good guitar, so my SG was my first really good guitar, and I could never afford a good guitar. I always had like these crappy guitars, or a guitar that my uncle gave me that he had when he was a kid or whatever. So I started looking at how to get a good guitar, and there was a couple charities in the UK that offered grants.
Cool.
So I applied for a grant of £1,000 to get a guitar, and I got it. So that's how I was able to buy the SG when I was 14. And then when I was about 16, I thought, I wonder if I could get another one, because I'm kind of itching for a new guitar. So I got another one, and I bought the blue Strat. But I got £1,000 grant, and I couldn't really find a guitar at that price point in Guitar or online that I really wanted. It was just there was SGs, and then there was some like Mexican Strats or something. I didn't really want a Strat at that point, so I thought, I wonder if I could build one. So I found Warmouth, and I probably spent about an extra $200 like on pickups and hardware and stuff, and it originally had a flame maple neck that was huge. It was a huge, thick,
I remember
chunky thing. I don't know why I got that, but the type of neck is called a 59 roundback, and I think it's a type of neck on a 59 Les Paul, and it was on this tiny little Strat.
Hefty.
So it was big, and then I contacted Warmouth after I got it, and I said, I'd love to work with you guys. And they said, sure, let's do it. I actually waited a whole year to respond to that.
Wow. Why?
Because Bill, at that point, I was at Berklee, and then I was doing a semester in Spain at their campus there, and it just didn't make any sense for me to start working with a company, and I didn't really know which addresses I would be living at, and it was just,
Yeah.
So I waited a year, and then I got back in touch with them, and I said, "Oh, would you guys still be up for it?" And they were like, "Sure." Which I had no followers. I had no Instagram presence. I probably had like a couple hundred subscribers on YouTube. My videos on Facebook were doing really well, but that was about it. And they believed in me. They said, we think your career could do well, so we'll partner up with you. And at first, to test it out, they sent me. They said they would either send me a body or a neck. So I went. Cool. I went for the new neck because I hated the thick 59 round back.
There's a funny story about the delivery on that neck. No.
What do you mean?
Oh, I just remember. Sorry to interrupt, but I remember you telling me that like you missed the delivery and then had to run down the road and like with cash in your hand.
Yeah, because when so it was coming from America, and you need to pay the import fee tax or something at the door when the delivery guy turns up. And I think I paid, the milkman came to the door that morning, and I gave him a $5, and I was £5 short to pay the import fees on the guitar. So the delivery guy wouldn't give me the guitar. So I was phoning everybody. I was like, "Is there money in the house? I just need £5." And my stepdad was like, "Right, upstairs in the drawer, there's a $5, go take it." And I called, the delivery guy gave me his number, and I phoned him, and I had to run like probably about a mile before he left to his next location, and that was to get the whole guitar. That was the body and the neck, because I could have gotten it the next day. I could have picked it up later that day, but I just really wanted it. I was done. I was stupid. It was
worked out.
But yeah, so the first deal I did with Warmouth, I got a new neck to replace that 59 round back, and I got this really nice thin roasted maple neck, which is beautiful. And when we decided to do a second deal with Warmouth to get the Telecaster, got the same exact neck, same specifications, because I just loved it so much.
Cool.
Same inlays. It's just very consistent looking. Just plays really well. So that's kind of the story behind them. Both of them I was going for a Sir look because I could never afford a Sir.
Yeah, it's funny because I saw Sue like done nearly the same guitar as your Strat, and I was like, wait a minute. I guess it's maybe just a common colour.
Yeah, they just released one that looks exactly like it, and with the Telecaster, I was basing that one off of an actual Sir guitar.
Cool. So what are you? Because I know like if I think back to like hearing and seeing you play, the Strat's kind of your main guitar.
Yeah.
How have you used the Telecaster in the last year or so that you've had it, whatever it's been?
Not a lot. I've never gigged with it live. Because it's been sitting on the wall, and also in the past year I've moved apartments twice. So there's been things in cases and boxes, and I haven't had a lot of room. Right now I'm in a studio. I'm in my own room with acoustic panels, and it's my own space. But the apartment we were in before this, I didn't have any space. All my guitars were just kind of bunched up in the corner. I didn't have any room to do anything, so I haven't really played it that much. So I have no interesting stories for that.
Well, maybe I'll get to play it sometime.
It'll get
nice.
played.
Yeah, man. So what about the D'Angelico then? Because I know that's a fairly new one for you, right?
Right, the D'Angelico I've had probably 3 months.
Oh, cool. And how are you finding it?
I loved it when I first got it. I still love it. It's not that I don't love it anymore. I loved it when I first got it. And I'm trying to think if I've played with it live. I'm not sure. It's on some tracks. I've played it on some tracks. It's on some like scores I've done and stuff. But again, I've just, for ease of use, because the Strat is so versatile. Yeah. That's just, whenever I'm sitting down at my studio to record, I just automatically pick that one up.
Right.
And again, it's just that laziness of not changing the strings, because when you have so many guitars, like, it's expensive to change all these strings.
Man, you know how many guitars are in this room with me right now? I know,
right? So, but I still love it. It's a great guitar, and it's so beautiful. It's a pretty color. So
yeah,
that'll definitely get played more.
Yeah, I feel that with because we have the same model roughly, right?
Is it I have a Deluxe SS.
Cool. Mine's is the XL one,
Right.
right? And I think mine's is also like maybe a year older than yours. And I think
Right.
they switched out the necks for new ones. So you might have a newer neck. But my neck is really thick. And I loved it when I first got it. And I was fighting between that and the Ibanez for a while until I realized, you know what? They're different guitars. You know, they both do different things. I shouldn't be like fighting. Obviously, they're not. Like, I'm not really thinking about it like this, but that's what I've come to realize. And
Right.
I just find that the more I play the D'Angelico, the better it gets, man. Like, it's my main guitar now, and I love it for so many reasons. But I think part of it is, like, I never had to fight with it at the beginning, but I just really had to play it. I don't know what you can get from that, really, but it's like, I think it came on, like, 9s or 10s or something like that. I was like, nah, no way. I was like, all right, 11s. And they were all right for a while, but just never enough. And the way I've got it set up right now is that I kind of approach that guitar the way I want it to play. Like, you know, if you play a chord, like, I don't know, A minor 11 sort of shape. The reason I'm saying that is because it's an easy one to kind of vibrato. And you kind of, I don't know, you can naturally get a lot of vibrato without meaning it, kind of. Or even if you just play a melody, and it's like, it's super easy to do vibrato. Right. I basically want that guitar to be like a piano, where you play a chord and it's just exactly that, and you can't wiggle it, right? And I just love the way it plays like that. It's like every note is absolutely defined, and it's not, I can't even bend the G string, man. It's like, like maybe a microtone, but it's like, I love that. Like, whereas...
See, I think, sorry, the only thing that bothers me about the D'Angelico is the pickup selector.
Why? I don't mind.
Because it's like five selections.
Oh, mine isn't. Nah, I've got the old one, man. Mine's just 3.
Oh, you have the old one. Oh, so mine's is like, it's not like your traditional like Strat 5. It's like, it goes diagonally and stuff. It's nuts.
Oh, cool.
And I feel like it's just a little pointless because I only use it in one position anyway.
Wow.
I have that. It's very versatile. It has a lot of different sounds. But that's annoying.
I felt like that about my JSM because it's got that little switch thing down in the body that can put in, like, so I can't remember, series and parallel. It's a John Schofield one, so you can do the twangy sort of thing. And I never used that thing. Like, I just kept it on the neck pickup or the bridge because the bridge is really nice in that. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think certain guitar types suit being all rounders. Like, I think a Strat is a good thing to have where you can maybe like split the coils or something like that. But I think for like my D'Angelico it does the thing that I want it to do. So I'm not trying to make it versatile. I've got other things, but there are other versatile guitars I have. Like the Telecaster is super versatile, and the Shergold.
Oh, totally.
Like, yeah, have you saw that Shergold that I've got?
I've never played it in person.
Right. Yeah, because everybody's always surprised when they see me playing it. They're like, "Oh, looks a bit different." I'm like, "Yeah, that's what's cool about it, right?" But it's the most like comfortable and light guitar I have. Like, and you can split the pickup, and it's got a P90 in the neck, and it's so nice, man. I love that guitar.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah, it's great, man. Yeah, maybe I'll make it onto one of the tracks. I don't know. Who knows?
That's it.
Yeah, well, anyway, there's one other thing I want to talk to you about, right?
Sure. Let's do it.
So, again, in our last conversation, I remember you saying, and sorry if I'm bringing up like a thing from the past that's not happening, but I remember you saying you were writing a book.
Oh, God.
Oh, no, sorry.
Yeah.
You were really keen about it as well.
I know. I was really into it. That has not happened. I really wanted to do it, but again, life just got in the way, and I was doing more stuff. I still would love to have a book. Yeah. And I probably wrote about 30% of it. This was probably in January. I was really into it. Yeah, I'd love to finish it, but it just never happened. Right. And I still have it all.
Yeah. What book was it? What was it about? If you want to go
It was basically going to be a book about how... Because I'm from a rock background, and I found it incredibly difficult to understand or find any material on how an existing rock player could become a jazz player. It was always stuff that you were learning from the beginning, and they would never show you how to implement your existing skills into playing jazz.
Right.
You know, so I wanted to write it from that angle of how a rock player could become a jazz player, because there are a lot of them out there. A lot of people love the sound of jazz. They just can't understand it. They don't have the vocabulary. They can't find the right materials to make them understand it. So that was it was going to be about that. It was going to be a transition from rock to jazz in an easy, simple, clear way to understand that you wouldn't have to throw out everything you knew about rock. You could actually implement it into, your playing. So
Sweet.
maybe one day.
Yeah,
One
man.
day.
No, you should do it. I think a lot of people would really benefit from that. Like, I know I would have when I was 14 or whatever, like trying to
Me too.
think about these other things. I remember it was Guthrie Govan. When I heard him play, I was like, wait a minute, he's like really swinging and doing like all this chromaticism, but he's shredding his ass off. And I was like, when I heard Guthrie Govan, I was like, wow, like I want to get a bit of that, like a bit of the approach. I was never like a shredder sort of like he can. But I was like, it was when I heard Wonderful Slippery Thing, and when he kicks in that,
The intro solo.
Yeah, I was like, what is happening here? And I remember saying to my teacher, I was like, all right, we need to do this, and I was so excited about it. And that was literally my transition into jazz, is hearing him play.
Wow.
And there's so many other ways I could have gone around it, but hearing someone who was obviously a rock player but could absolutely play the changes and like bebop and all that kind of stuff, like that was just so inspiring for me. And then that led on to like just exploring the whole fusion thing for years.
Yeah, same.
But I've kind of I think I'm maybe in a bit of jazz rabbit hole now, like kind of gone into that sound.
You definitely are. Yeah, you're all about that, which is great. I love it. I wish my problem again is that I don't listen to enough music, because when I was in Scotland, I listened to so much music, and I was walking 2 miles to school and back, or I was taking the train into college, and I just stick on my headphones for an hour at a time. But then when you move to LA, you don't walk anywhere, you don't have time to listen to music. I haven't properly listened to a lot of music, or intentionally listened to music, which is something I really need to get back into.
Yeah.
I think that's why most of these guitars don't get played as much as they should.
Right, lacking inspiration.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I've been listening to the same people for years. I mean, like you said, Guthrie Govan and Tom Quayle and Rick Graham and all these people, and none of them were bringing out any new content for me to listen to. And that's why I think the jazz world started to take over, because there was new stuff like Jonathan Kreisberg and Julian Lage and
have you heard
all these guys.
Have you heard Jonathan Kreisberg's new album from like last week or something?
I took a screenshot from your story so that I could listen to it later.
Man, this, like, I'm not kidding. I think it's the best jazz record this year. Like,
really,
without a shadow of doubt. Like, it's
you need
so
to send
good.
You need to send me like your top 10 albums.
What
of
I
this
was gonna
year.
do actually is I was just gonna do that right now. I could even look into the playlist that's been made for me. But what I'll go and do is I'll look at the playlist I've made. I'll kind of keep it. Shall I keep it jazz, or shall I open up to anything I've been listening to?
No, anything. I don't care. I'll listen to anything.
I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom of the most recent things. So I'll give you artists' names just to check out. So a piano player called Hiromi. Hiromi is insanely good. I found a really interesting album by the drummer called Ari Honig called Lines of Oppression. That's very interesting.
Ari Honig.
A really cool album by, I'm not sure how you say his second name, but it's Tristan Melia? He's a piano player, and the album's called No Problem. I've been massively listening to two guitarists, one called Mike Marino and one called Kurt Rosenwinkel. And, oh man, just love their sound.
I saw Kurt at NAMM last year.
Oh, cool.
And that's when someone passed out in the crowd.
Explains. Yeah, I could keep going, like Tigran Hamasi, and I was fortunate enough to see him live in Glasgow, and that was cool. Like solo piano gig. In fact, no, I think he got someone on to like play trumpet or something, but that was very inspiring. Yeah, I
saw him at Berklee with an orchestra.
Oh wow, which
was cool. Yeah.
Oh, was it the Middle
East?
Oh
yeah,
I would love to see that. So cool.
It was really good. Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Cool. Well, it's been great chatting, man.
Absolutely.
We will do this again sometime and can chat about some other things. Yeah.
When are we gonna get you to Nam? On a final note.
All right. On a final note, Nam, it's one of those things, man. Like, so we had like almost planned me doing it. Was it last year, summer?
Yeah. Last year.
Something like that. And then,
or like this January, like this past January.
right. And then I just had this thing where I was like, I stopped using social media as much. Like, I still try and keep relevant, but I hadn't really putting time into it like I did before. And I was very happy with where I was in terms of like relationships with brands and all that kind of stuff. And so I wasn't interested in going for that. And I was thinking, well, why would I go? Is it to play and meet new people? And I thought, well, Nam's not the best place to do that. It's super loud and everybody's just trying to show off. And we had this chat actually. And I was just like, well, will it actually serve me? You know, because it's not cheap for me to come all the way over to LA and like do that. And you know, it's not. I'm not a big enough artist where like D'Angelico would pay for me to come to Nam, for example. Like that's just not going to happen. So yeah, I made a decision. I was like, well, I'm not going to go this year. What I'll do is I'll wait until I feel like it's going to be beneficial for me, instead of just doing it as an experience, because I'm not hungry for that. I'll wait until maybe I've got my record out and I feel like there's something for me to be like, just a bit more reason for me to be there other than just like checking out guitars, because I'm totally not interested in new guitars or anything like that. I just want to work on my craft, and that's what I've been doing this year, and I'm feeling very positive about the kind of direction it's taken. So small things like not going to Nam or not spending a couple of grand basically to finance another thing. It's like I've just kind of bit the bullet with that and been like, oh right, I'll just kind of not do that this year. And it's just a compromise, I guess. But I will definitely go sometime, and it'll be great to go and like meet all the kind of brands that I work with. But yeah, not really up for it. Are you going this year?
I think I'm being forced to. Again, every year I say I'm not gonna go, because after the first year I went, it was just too much. I went every day and it was insane. But last year I went because my friend Jaden had never been, and he, you know, I just went to show him around and meet some people.
Cool.
And then this year I think I have to go because two of my friends from Boston are staying with me and they've never been to Nam. And then Martin Miller's girlfriend Martina, she also asked to stay with me. She's coming over from Germany, and she asked me to accompany her at the Ibanez booth. So
great.
I think I'm just being forced to go.
Man, just do it. I mean, if you live in LA, I can see how easy it
Oh,
would
of course. It's like it's 2-hour drive. That's easy.
May as well.
And I already got a ticket from Warmouth and D'Angelico, so I need to pick which one I'm gonna rep. But
go with D'Angelico. Man,
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we could talk about all that stuff for ages. Like, I'm excited to see what they're bringing out. Like, there's some cool things that they've kind of done hints at online, but I guess it might be out by the time this podcast's out. So,
well, Warmouth are doing really cool stuff too, because all the restrictions for all the exotic woods were just lifted in America, so they're releasing some really cool stuff.
Sweet. Well, maybe we can chat up if you go to Nam. We'll have like a Nam one after that. You can tell me about all the cool stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take some pictures.
All right. Any final words for the listeners?
Keep practicing.
Yep. All right. Sweet. I'll catch you later, Brandon.
All right. See ya.
All right, episode number 3 is in the bag. Thanks so much to Brandon for sitting down and chatting with me. It's always a pleasure. Be sure to leave a review, go buy some merch and all that stuff. And yeah, I'll see you in episode 4.